The Christian Dating Success Journal, Dating Tips for Christian Single Parents, is brought to you by SalvationLifeMates.com, a Christian singles ministry devoted to Christian dating success. Volume 1, based on the book Dating and the Single Parent. Written by Ron L. Deal. Part 1. Chapter 1. Dating in a Crowd. Dating with Purpose. Sometimes, kids say it best. When asked what she wishes her mum would do differently while dating, Rachel, a smart young graduate student, replied, "I wish she would recognize her own impulsivity and emotional roller coaster. She does and says things without recognizing that to some extent, our whole family is dating this guy. This year, I came home 4 times from college, and he was in town every single time. After I went back to campus each time, Mom said, 'I never get to see you.' Yes, well, that's because you were with your boy. I just wish they would hurry up and get married so they would be a bit less interesting to one another." Dating in a crowd is tough. The kids are engaged, at least on some level, even when you don't think they are. Choosing to be with one party generally means the other party is left waiting. And everyone has strong emotions and opinions about who is involved and what the outcome is. In other words, the whole family is dating. Table for 20. For the 2 people directly involved, dating is hard enough. Add the kids, ex-spouses, extended family, and friends, and you better have a plan and purpose in your dating, or you'll likely waste a lot of time, and wander from romance to romance with a lot of heartbreak along the way. The most consistent mistakes I see in people who have repeated failed dating relationships are these: they don't have a purpose in dating, they lack an intentional process to their dating, they don't have an appreciation for the complexity of dating in a crowd, they don't take their children's needs and feelings into consideration enough, and they don't realize that the growing connections between children and future step-parents, or step-siblings established during dating may shift toward distance and conflict after the wedding. It's this last truth that really catches people by surprise. I'll say more about this later. As we begin our journey together, I'd like to recommend a purpose for your dating and present an overall process to dating that will help you know when you're on target for a good start. Many of the specifics of this process will be discussed in more depth throughout the remainder of the book, but I do want you to get a sense of what to expect, from pre-dating preparation, to making a decision for marriage, to anticipating the hot and cold responses of children. Purpose in dating. Does your dating have purpose? What do you mean, Ron? Isn't the purpose of dating to find the right person, my soulmate? No, it isn't. Let me explain. I always question when I hear someone say they are looking for their soulmate, because for most people, finding someone has nothing to do with their soul or eternity. A 2001 study of dating attitudes of 20-year-olds found that an overwhelming majority, 94%, of never-married singles agree that when you marry, you want your spouse to be your soulmate, first and foremost. But only 42% believe it is important to find a spouse who shares your religion. Are you kidding me? How can they remotely qualify as a soulmate and not share your core beliefs and guiding spiritual convictions? I guess to them, a soulmate has little to do with spirituality. Remember, single parents, this person is going to have an eternal influence on your kids. Isn't finding someone with your same spiritual beliefs of the utmost importance? No, apparently what the average person looking for a soulmate is really saying is, I'm looking for the person who is easy for me to love, someone who will fulfill my needs and who knows just how to love me. Sounds pretty selfish, doesn't it? Soulmate shopping is nothing more than consumerism applied to dating. The mentality is to date as many people as you can, or as one writer said it, test drive people to see which you likes best, and stop when you find the one that meets your expectations and needs. The problem with this attitude is fourfold. First, it assumes the test driver contributes nothing to the quality of the developing relationship, which, of course, you do. Second, the consumer's criteria for their purchase is completely selfish. Even if you find someone who seems to make you happy, they won't be able to sustain it forever. This usually isn't obvious until marriage, which is when most people begin to think, maybe you weren't my soulmate after all, I must have made a mistake. Third, It mistakenly places too much emphasis on your happiness as a couple, and not enough on the role the step-parent will have as a parent. And fourth, the consumer attitude toward dating assumes that God has purposed marriage to make us happy. He has, but not in the way most expect. Through disciplining us to be more like Jesus, He deepens our walk with Him. I believe that family life is God's best tool for disciplining us. From the cradle to the grave, He is growing us up in maturity, faith, and knowledge, and He is using relationships to train us. When we're children, God uses our family to teach us important lessons about obedience, submission, and respect for authority. Learning these lessons makes it more likely that we'll gain respect for God's authority. In parenting, God teaches us about nurture, providing for those you love, and how far you will go to rescue one of your own. We also learn about free will. He lets us create life and struggle with the reality of not being able to control it, and humility. Praying for your kids will drive you to your knees. In friendships, God teaches us about loyalty and living in community. In being single, God teaches us about trusting Him with our aloneness and not turning marriage into an idol. God uses marriage to teach us about commitment, sacrifice, forgiveness, and selfless love. In the physical, emotional, and spiritual depth of sex, God teaches us about surrender, vulnerability, and oneness. In crisis, God reminds us of kingdom priorities and the limits of materialism, and He recalibrates our faith and trust toward Him. And in facing death, God invites us to live in light of what is eternal. In all of these life experiences and relationships, God invites us to walk with Him, to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God, Micah 6-8. In all of this, God is purposing to make us holy and healthy and eternally happy. He knows what is best for us, and each relationship and season of family life invites us to trust Him and know Him more deeply. And therein lies the rub. Making us eternally happy usually doesn't satisfy our selfishness today. Instead, it requires us to grow up a lot emotionally, which is painful. Ask yourself if you are open to what God is teaching you about Him, in your singleness. Are you pursuing Him as much as He is pursuing you? Is your singleness helping you to see Him more clearly and trust Him more deeply, or are you instead telling Him what He should be doing for you? Are you open to maturing in this season of life, or do you assume that you need marriage to be fulfilled? With God's goals in mind, I suggest that the purpose of dating for single parents is threefold: to discern if together you and this other person can walk humbly with God, with a common heart, faith, value system, and approach to life; to discern if you can love the person sacrificially without reservation, and trust that they will do the same for you; to discern if the children involved in your union would be graced by your common commitment to the Lord and combined families. If your purposes for dating don't pass this small test, slow down or stop altogether. You may be naturally attracted to someone and enjoy time together, but if after a brief dating period you are just wandering aimlessly, it's probably time to stop playing around. If dating reveals at any point that your life trajectories, faith walk, parenting, family situations, values, etc., are divergent, back away. This is not a game. Is it okay to date on occasion purely for recreational purposes? Yes, as long as you don't let children get emotionally wrapped up in the dating partner and the other person is aware of your intentions and the limits of the relationship. But dating is not a goal in and of itself. Instead, think of dating as the process you go through to become married. That helps to keep the ultimate purpose in mind. The process of dating. Having a spiritually determined purpose in dating will help to set your attitude in the right direction. It also helps to have a sense of the process or stages of dating. Thinking through the overall process helps you to know where you are in the journey and what tasks lie ahead. It also helps you gauge the depth of a developing relationship and whether it will hold water. In general, single-parent dating will move through the following stages. It starts, if you are the single parent, by preparing yourself and the kids for dating. If you are single without children, it starts by assessing your openness to dating someone with kids and welcoming them into your life. From there, the stages consist of forming an initial couple relationship, initial dating partner and child relationships, serious dating and deepening couple and dating partner-child bonds, making decisions about marriage, and preparing for a wedding and blended family living. Dating process: frequently asked questions. From a stage perspective, the dating process is straightforward and clear. But questions about managing the process abound. The following are some frequently asked questions with answers that give perspective to the journey. When the kid is an adult, empty nest couples are often very surprised to learn that later life blended families with adult stepchildren have just as many adjustment issues as do families with children still at home. The specific issues vary, but don't naively assume everyone will be open to a new love in your life. But before diving into the frequently asked questions, let me speak about a perspective to avoid. Society has created many unspoken benchmarks for dating couples. They are meant to help individuals gauge the dating process, but most of them are ambiguous, simplistic, and shallow. Don't let these questions guide your thinking about your dating relationship. Is this person good looking, and do I get points just for standing beside them? Are they wealthy, or do they at least have the potential to become wealthy? Do they hang out with the right people? Are they sexually experienced? Because I don't want to be with a novice. Have we had sex yet, and how good of a lover are they? Why don't we stay over at one another's place on occasion to test the waters a little? Are we ready to live together? These are the clear standards by which Cosmo, Facebook, and Hollywood judge dating relationships, but let me be clear, they are pathetic pathways to commitment, horrible benchmarks to gauge relational quality and stability, and often lead to relational self-sabotage. Don't adopt them, or be taken in by their salacious promises. Now, back to the frequently asked questions, and their answers, which are rooted in wisdom and will help you manage each stage of dating. Hold them close and remember that when kids predate a new couple, marriage is a package deal. If you can't marry the package, or aren't ready to embrace all that comes with the package, don't marry the person. Question number 1. If we're in love, why should we wait to get married? Don't rush dating and don't rush a decision to marry. Time is your friend. Slow the pace of your dating and fill it with purposeful conversation so you can explore how well your life trajectories might merge. Avoid being driven by surface-level infatuation, and instead look deep into the mirror to examine the person you are, and the person they are. Timing issues in general: men are open to dating more quickly after a death or divorce than are women, and both are ready to date before their kids want them to. Time will help you to see whether you and the other person are a fit not just on the surface, but to the core. Time will make known transparency or hiding, authenticity or facade, integrity or falsehood. Time will reveal what you don't like about each other and whether you can problem solve through it. Couples who break up even once during dating are 4 times more likely to have relationship difficulties than couples who don't. And time will reveal whether your extended families can merge or if cohesiveness is unlikely, if both of you are parents, whether your parenting styles can complement or compete, and whether each parent is strong enough to lead their children through the transition to a new family. Don't rush past the children and their need for reliable, consistent nurturing from you. And let the pace of your coupleness be influenced by, not controlled by, the leanings, longings, anxieties, and openness of the children. Don't dismiss time, she is trying to help you. Listen to her. Question number 2. How do I proceed without feeling overwhelmed? If you are feeling overwhelmed at this point, you may be trying to comprehend and master every stage even before you get there. Instead of trying to get your hands around all of them at once, try to focus on the stage you are in, and trust God to help you manage it well. Only then do you have to deal with the next stage, and God will be there, too. It's a little like trusting God with life. Do you know how God gives directions? If you were to ask me how to get from my house to the local Walmart, I would give you step-by-step instructions. For example, I might say drive southwest in front of my house on London Court toward Liberty. Turn left at the stop sign. Then, curve through our neighborhood until you come to Continental Parkway, turn left. Continue east 0.2 of a mile till turning left onto Coulter Road. Walmart will be half a mile on your left. But that's not how God gives directions. In his book Experiencing God, Henry Blackaby says that God doesn't give us directions that way, he only gives us the next set of instructions and then waits for us to obey. He might, for example, say, drive southwest on London Court, and then stop talking. We of course, then anxiously ask, and then what, God? He responds, don't worry about that, just drive that direction on London Court. Yeah, but God, I need to know what follows that so I can get prepared. I'm not interested in you being prepared. He smiles. I'm interested in you trusting me to know the way. I'll give you more when it's best. I don't know about you, but God's direction-giving style really frustrates me. My need to know, and be in control, is too high for this to be comfortable. But that's exactly why God does it that way. He wants to deepen my trust, not my knowing. To keep from being overwhelmed by the dating stages, give yourself permission to not know how to master the next step. Trust God to lead you through when you get there. In the meantime, trust Him with the stage you're in now. This is the end of Part 1 of Volume 1 of the Christian Dating Success Journal, Dating Tips for Christian Single Parents. Please proceed to Part 2.